Okay. Show me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DashC channel. Thank you very much for tuning in for my final review of the content of this here box. From Esky, this box contains the 300 V2, version 2 of their 300 size helicopter. And as you can tell, it looks like a sleek helicopter. And in reality it actually is. It's a nice looking helicopter. And this is definitely a beginner helicopter though. So it's brushed, it is fixed pitch, so it is not a 3D helicopter. So with that, it's something you could order to get into helicopter flying. It's definitely suitable for beginner pilots. It is also ready to fly, minus batteries for the controller for the radio. I'll show you in a minute. But other than that, you get everything you need to fly this helicopter, plus a couple of spares. Okay, I'm actually showing you this box here. This is partly a little bit of a quick unboxing, but also I used the actual box to store and transport the helicopter. And as you can tell, the helicopter is neatly packaged in a foam block. So again, I use this packaging to transport the helicopter. I've done approximately 16 or 18 flights with the helicopter by now. It is still in one piece. And again, the box came in handy to transport and protect the helicopter. Okay, so again, in this video I'll give you my review, my end review and a quick unboxing. So I'll tell you what wasn't nice about the helicopter, what was nice, and what kind of pilot this helicopter would be suitable to. Okay, so let's see. The first thing you'll see when you open the box is a manual, which is in English. It is reasonable. It is, sometimes there are weird translations, but definitely not horrible. It is usable. There's actually not a whole lot you need to know about the helicopter, but the English in the manual and diagrams are useful. For instance, the opening angle of the battery cabin hatch is only up to 90 degrees. That's not really proper English, is it? But still you can tell what was meant. So again, it's not horrible. It is definitely usable, useful with the diagrams and text and such. So manual, pretty nice. And it's not a flimsy one sheet manual, as you can tell. And oh, it's also in Chinese. Half of the manual is apparently in, yeah, Chinese. Okay, that's the manual. Then you get this sticker sheet, which looks a little weird because there's nothing on the stickers. Watch that. The stickers, I'll show you up close in a second. These are actually repair parts. If you happen to crash and damage this canopy, you can use these stickers to reinforce the canopy, if you will. You can also get replacement canopies, by the way, but with these stickers you can extend the life of your canopy a little bit. Okay, then there is one LiPo. This is actually a LiPo, so lithium polymer battery with a balance plug, as you can hopefully see. I'll show you the battery up close in a second. And a micro low-C connector. And this is a 320 milliamp hour 2S LiPo. Then we have a spare tail rotor. We have spare main rotors. I haven't needed mine, but you get a spare set of those. You get a charger. Like I mentioned, this is a ready to fly set. It is not the greatest charger in the world, obviously, but it will definitely get you started. So it's a balance plug charger, as you can tell. You simply hook up the balance plug of your LiPo to this. And it has two LEDs, one power LED which is always on if you hook it up to your computer, and one that blinks green while the battery is being charged, and it'll be solid green when the charging is done. And that's it. No buttons or anything, so it's simple to use, but it's also not that fast. You'll be charging for approximately an hour with this charger. Then we've got the helicopter itself, and we'll take a closer look at that in a sec. Underneath the foam block we find the radio, which we will also have a look at close up in a sec. And we actually even get a tool set. So 2 screwdrivers and some double-sided sticky tape or Velcro probably. No, double-sided sticky tape. Some washers, I'm not sure what for. Basically a repair kit this, right? So a couple of spare parts here as well. So as you can tell, I've switched to some flight footage here. This was on a moderately windy day and I'm showing you this to, well, show you that this Esky helicopter can actually be flown outdoors. Esky says the helicopter can also be flown indoors, and well, I can't really see why not. It is not a huge helicopter, so it should be flyable indoors. I don't really have a good spot to fly it indoors, so though you will need a little bit of room, obviously. As you can also see, this helicopter can definitely be flown at a relatively high speed, which again means you will need a little bit of room to fly it indoors. You would not, however, be able to fly this helicopter in a lot of wind. I'd say maximum of 3 bow 4. Maybe that's pushing it already, but up to 3 bow 4 you should be able to fly this helicopter. Not on your first flights though. That hopefully makes sense. In your first flights you don't want the extra hassle of having to deal with the wind. But again, as you can tell, the helicopter can be flown outdoors and it's relatively agile, pretty fast for a beginner helicopter for sure. Also, it might not be apparent from my video, but it's easy to keep track of this helicopter somehow. Maybe it's because the black and white color scheme, but I can easily tell what's front and back even with the helicopter at a distance. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to fly like this outdoors, right? So yeah, that actually surprised me. Maybe it's because of the sleek profile, and you can therefore easily see that you are looking at the front rather than the sides of the helicopter. But again, also with the turns of this helicopter being nice and fluid, it flies predictably. I did have to get used to the helicopter a little, but I'd say no more than any other helicopter per se. And here's another quick overview of what you get for your money. A black and white Esky 300 version 2 helicopter. It's radio without batteries, 4 AA's for this battery, and that's everything you need apart from what you see here. Spare main rotor blade, spare tail rotor blade. I haven't needed that either, as you can tell. You got a couple of tools and some washers, double sticky tape. You got yourself a battery, 320 mAh 2S LiPo. A charger for that LiPo, a manual and a sticker sheet. So again, these are simply transparent stickers and you can use them if, for instance, you get a crack in this Lexan body, this scale-ish looking Lexan body of the helicopter. From the spec sheets, the product pages, you might have thought that this body, the outer shell, would be fiberglass. It's not. I guess part of the frame of this helicopter is fiberglass, and maybe this hatch at the bottom, maybe. But again, this is basically the same material as car shells. Bodies of RC cars are made of. Now, this helicopter is pretty light. So if you were to get this helicopter for your first helicopter flights, I'd say fly the helicopter over a grass field. It's light, so the crashes won't have much of an impact. That way you should be able to keep the body as is. But again, if you crash it hard and have a couple of cracks in the body, you can repair that with these sticker sheets, and eventually you can, well, if you want to replace it, you can. On that note, at the time I'm shooting this here video, I should tell you that the spare parts aren't in yet. I haven't seen them in shops. Maybe by the time you are watching this video, spare parts are available. And I have seen spare parts for other Esky helicopters, so I'm sure spare parts will turn up. At the time I'm shooting this here video, you are left with, well, spare rotor blades, a spare tail rotor and a couple of washers. Keep that in mind. If you are careful with this helicopter, even if you are an absolute beginner, if you fly over a grassy field, you should be able to keep this helicopter in one piece. So here we are with a close-up look of the helicopter, and you can just about see the brushed motor behind the windscreen, the front window. Hopefully at least you can see it. And there are a couple of slots in the body for air cooling. Over here 2 slots, and the window, the side window over here is cut out for air cooling. Other than that, it is a full body scale-ish scale looking helicopter, even though it's not based on an actual real life helicopter. It looks a little bit like the Airwolf helicopter, a little bit, or maybe the Eurocopter, Airbus Eurocopter, but it's definitely not a scale replica. However, I have seen that this Esky 300 helicopter is quite popular online, and that is probably partly because it looks nice. In my humble opinion at least, so you tell me in the comment section below what you think. But it looks sleek, but also it performs well. For instance, a lot of beginner helicopters will have a tail waggle, especially outdoors with a little bit of wind. I've only seen that with this helicopter in a lot of wind. And even then this helicopter hardly has any tail waggle whatsoever. So the electronics, the flight controller, if you will, in this helicopter is well done. The software in that, well done. So that's definitely very nice. Then you might ask, where do we put the battery? Well, in most helicopters it's at the bottom, and sure enough there's a hatch at the bottom. There's a thumb screw over here. Very nice system this actually, because the thumb screw can't fall out. It'll stay attached to this hatch. You see a little bit of carbon fiber over here, but I don't think there's a lot of carbon fiber in the helicopter itself. Okay, it'll be hard to show you, but there's a belt drive system to power the main rotor over there, and at in the tail you've got a second brushed motor to power the tail rotor. So other than that, you've got the LiPo over here, the 2S LiPo, and the connector is over here. So that's that micro low-C connector. This is definitely an easy setup. This works. It is easy to hook up the LiPo in the field. And this is also a pretty sturdy setup. I've had a couple of harder landings and, well, no issues whatsoever so far. So the radio, it is a ready-to-fly helicopter, right? So you get a radio, and as with most ready-to-fly RCs, the radio is pretty basic. It is plasticky, it is also very much no nonsense. You got two position switches, and that's it. And obviously you've got 2 gimbals, an on-off switch, and trim buttons, which I've never used. In fact, you shouldn't need to use the trim buttons. If you find that the helicopter wants to fly backwards, you've inserted that LiPo too far backwards. Just a little bit of a tip. So the helicopter should have a tendency to gently fly forwards. That's the most convenient way of flying a helicopter. So again, you shouldn't need these trim switches at all. And so you got an on-off switch. As you could see, you can't accidentally switch the radio on, accident, or off, even worse. So it'll take a couple of seconds of pressing that button to switch it on or off. Excellent. Then you got a switch over here, which is the throttle cut. So with the switch to the front, the rotor won't spin. This way the rotor will spin, so your flight ready this way. Then you got a switch over here with high and low rates. So default the helicopter will be docile. This way it'll be a little more sporty. And as you could tell from my flight footage, the helicopter can be relatively fast. So this remote, again, it works. I actually don't have complaints about the radio, even though I have far nicer radios. And my hands are pretty big, or my fingers are actually pretty long. I will say that I was a bit worried about this radio. However, I've got a tip for you. If you are an adult and have big hands, if you hold the radio like so, rather than like so with your fingers behind the radio. So again, if you clamshell the radio like this, First of all, you'll have quick access to the throttle cut in case you crash, right? But also somehow this works. Yeah, I've had no trouble operating the helicopter like this at all. So that's nice. It's even better if you use a lanyard. The helicopter doesn't come with a neck strap or lanyard. Most times I actually forgot to take my lanyard with me, but it'll help you to get a more relaxed grip on the radio. And you don't have an aerial, an antenna that can break off. So it's okay. Again, it's an entry-level radio, and regrettably you can't order this E300 without the radio. For now you can only order the helicopter with this radio in mode 1 and mode 2. That's your options. Maybe in the future they'll sell, for instance, the helicopter with more lipos. That could be an option. Without a radio, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So guys, the Esky 300 or E300 version 2. I should actually tell you a little bit about myself. I have flown helicopters in the past, quite a lot actually. I've never been really a 3D pilot. However, I haven't flown helicopters in years. So for me, this was a very nice way to get back into helicopter flying. This helicopter is not intimidating with its flexible plastic blades. A bigger, more powerful hobby-grade helicopter will usually have carbon fiber blades. Those will cut you if you hit yourself with a helicopter. Obviously, hitting yourself with this helicopter will probably hurt a little bit. You will feel it, but it's far less dangerous again than a high-power hobby-grade helicopter. For me, this was a great way to get back into helicopter flying. For absolute beginners, I'd say that this is a nice helicopter. It is well behaved. Again, the flight controller is well set up. They didn't simply put together a nice shell and wrapped it around some frame they already had and put a generic flight controller in it and call it a day. It is definitely tuned for this E300 version 2. Otherwise, again, it wouldn't fly this well. And that definitely helps you in building up your confidence flying the helicopter. What more can I tell you about that? Yeah, fly the helicopter on non-windy days. That'll definitely help. Or even better, if you have access to indoors flying spots, that would be great for a helicopter like this. But again, I can't see this not being a very nice first helicopter. So, excellent. And downsides to this helicopter, yeah, it is brushed. So it's not super duper powerful, but yeah, is that a downside? For a first helicopter, I can't see that being much of a downside. At some point you will outgrow this helicopter. At that point it's probably nice that it looks nice, right? It'll also look nice on your shelf. But yeah, there's no growing curve within this helicopter. You can't switch it, for instance, into 3D. Even though it wouldn't be powerful enough for 3D. But again, you don't have that option with this helicopter. At some point you'll say, yeah, I want that next helicopter. So that again, that narrow bandwidth of use might be a downside for you, as this is not, and that it is definitely a downside of this Esky 300 helicopter. It is not super duper cheap. At the time I'm making this video, it's approximately $150. And yeah, that is including a radio and a couple of spares, but that's not cheap, right? If you shop around for a beginner Horizon hobby helicopter, yeah, at $150 you won't get anywhere. But maybe if you already have a radio, that might turn the tables, if you will. So, other downsides of this helicopter? Yeah, again, at the time I'm shooting this video there aren't spare parts for this helicopter, but I'm sure they'll turn up eventually. And that's it. Pros of this helicopter is that it looks great, in my humble opinion. I can hardly imagine that you don't like the looks of this helicopter. Subject to personal taste, obviously, but I think it has a nice, sleek design. And again, it's well put together, it simply works, the flight controller is well behaved. Yeah, that's about it. So I guess that's it. And if you've made it this far into this video, first of all, thank you very much. But I'd say that you are probably interested in this helicopter, and then I'd say go for it. I think this is a nice helicopter, for even at $150, it's value for money. And that is it. If you are left with questions, hit me up a comment down below. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.